Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. Our family is hiking today in the Oregon coastal range. We are doing a little bit of mushroom hunting, but also just enjoying the outdoors here in the state forest. So I wanted to show you along, looking at some of the habitat that's here, and also talk about a really important natural feature that you find in wooded areas. Now, this is a second growth forest that used to be owned by the logging company and was donated to the state because there are some really unique and lovely features here. But because it has been previously logged, there are a number of very large cut old growth logs here that have fallen as a result of, for whatever reason, they were logged and then not hauled out. And then there's also a lot of natural dead and fallen logs that serve as nurse trees and serve as an important part of the ecosystem. So I thought, since I love to talk about food foresting, since I love to talk about using those systems in nature to utilize in our permaculture design, let's look at what nature does here with fallen logs, with debris, with those large trees, small trees, and limbs that hit the ground. What is their role, and how can we utilize them in our own food forest systems? We are hiking today in the Siuslaw National Forest in the Oregon coastal range. This is by far our family's favorite hike we have done in the last several years. It is absolutely wonderful. You need to pre-purchase a $5 day use pass in order to hike here. So when we are talking about permaculture design and wanting to create our own food forests, I think we need to be really aware of looking at what is happening in our native forests and using examples there. One thing that really stood out to me on this hike was how much natural forests rely on dead and fallen trees and limbs as a source of fertility, as a place to foster abundance. Here you can see a huge down log that was downed by the Forest Service many decades ago. But out of it, you can see all of these huckleberries and siuslaw here and many other plants that thrive coming out of dead wood. When we are thinking about designing self-sustaining, resilient food forests, how can we use the component of dead and decaying wood as an important facet in our design? Not only to serve as a nurse log for those other crops, again, like huckleberries that really need to have that spongy dead wood in which to grow, but also in terms of fostering the rich, abundant fungal life and invertebrate life that we need, providing habitat for wildlife, providing potential substrate out of which we can grow our food crops. I remember when I took tropical and subtropical ecology in college, how surprised I was to find out that the soil itself in many of our rainforests is not very rich in organic matter. And so much of the organic matter is held above the surface of the soil, both in living plants, in leaf litter, and in fallen dead logs and limbs. How can we use those in our food forest design? For me, thinking about the ways that our food forests mimic Mother Nature and much less mimic our sort of tidy human Western aesthetic is a way that we can increase abundance. Again, not only for wildlife, not only by increasing biodiversity in terms of habitat space and species that we are not using as crops, but also for the food we want to grow in our food forests. Here you can see Sambucus caerulea, our native blue elderberry. There were tons of these in the understory. Now, at the time we did this hike, it was the driest part of the year. It had not rained for a long time, and yet everything here was lush and green. I noticed that many of those large decaying logs that become quite spongy serve as a literal sponge. They soak up and hold water, providing not only nutrition, but also hydration to plants that grow on top of them and around their base. I talk a lot on my channel about how we are designing not only as a feast for our bodies, but also for our souls and our minds. And I think when I'm out hiking in nature, one of the things I really appreciate and I want to replicate in food forest design is that sense of awe and wonder at the natural world. When we have that abundant biodiversity, when we've created habitat that feeds us, that feeds the animals around us, there is that sense of awe at what we can accomplish, what nature can can accomplish on her own. Here you can see, even again, in dry weather, a rich diversity of fungal life, which makes me think about the potential for using dead and decaying wood in our food forest design to grow those edible crops, like this lobster mushroom here. Many of the old decayed stumps from the first round of logging over a century ago are very spongy and have areas that have been hollowed out and are habitat for all kinds of mammals and birds. They also provide scaffolds upon which younger new plants can grow. There are so many functions that you can stack into dead wood. It really makes me think about what we could gain in our food forest design if we cleaned up a little less. As I said in the beginning, this is the best hike we have done in years. Everybody in the family loved it, and we will be going back. I don't know what took us so long to discover this beautiful hike to the Drift Creek Falls. Here you can see the water is extremely low. Again, the very end of the dry season. But all of my kids, ages almost 20 down to 11, found things that they enjoyed on this hike, and everybody wants to come back again. As I've said in some of my recent videos about unschooling, we have the benefit of being an unschooling family that loves to explore and learn together. We just really enjoy each other's company. And we also have the privilege of being Oregonians who have access to the woods, to the ocean, to rich habitats, to the mountains. Everywhere around us, there is beauty to explore. Now, as somebody who is very intent on placemaking, on flourishing where I'm planted, I want to learn to appreciate and conserve and protect those wild spaces around me, those zones 4 and 5 in permaculture. And also, when we are talking about permaculture site-specific design, taking the time to visit those parks, those refuges that are proximate to your landscape, to your permaculture system, will help you learn how to design better where you are as well. Permaculture principle, observe and interact. For me, much of hiking in the outdoors is about observing and taking it back home and interacting with my system in a way that applies what I have observed in the wild and harnesses it to improve my design back at home. So how can I use dead, rotting wood in my system to increase fertility, increase hydration, and build abundance? One of the things I think about is my concrete borders, my urbanite borders for my annual veggie beds. Maybe I want to replace those with logs I get off of Craigslist free page. I think about the areas of my garden where I've used hugel beds in order to mimic this kind of fertility. What benefits to this ecosystem am I observing from all of these large pieces of dead and decaying wood? And how can I use them in my own permaculture food forest design? If you're interested in doing this hike yourself, please know that the Drift Creek Falls is the highlight of the hike. There is a very large, very long suspension bridge, and once you cross it, it opens up onto the falls. Really a stunning hike, absolutely beautiful. If you're afraid of heights, it is definitely a bit nerve-wracking, but worth crossing. Really a stunning suspension bridge, and it sets off and highlights all of the beauty of the forest and the falls. We were hiking in what was essentially a third growth forest, but all around us was evidence of the old growth trees. I was really sad that those trees are gone, but looking at the absolutely enormous stumps, you can see the potential for a forest. You can see what nature can support, how massive the abundance can be if we just give our systems a chance to regenerate. And this forest is regenerating. It is now being conserved and protected so that those third growth trees can grow to the size of their grandmothers, once again, protected from logging. Thank you for watching today. I hope you will think about those wild spaces around you, those forests around you, what they can teach you about food forest design. For me, I'm really thinking a lot more about what benefits dead and disintegrating wood can bring to my system and how I want to take what I've learned here and bring it back home. I hope you will tune back in soon for more permaculture design. Thanks.